Hello and welcome to How I Organize My Chaotic Life. So, I recently sent out a newsletter which basically talks about how I organize my second brain. If you're not aware of the concept of a second brain is basically a place where you store your resources. It's like your database. I use Notion to store most of my resources, but you can use Evernote, Apple Notes, Android Notes, any notes that you want. I just feel like Notion is a good place to have my all-in-one setup. So that's what I'm going to show you today. Two reasons why I have a second brain. One is because I'm a sucker for organizational tools, and I really like having all my data in one specific place, and everything that I like gets stored over here for future use. For example, if you're a researcher, student, someone with bad memory like me, something like this can really help you. So over the past 1 year, I've been working on trying different systems to organize my day-to-day life. And after putting this method into place, I think I've been using it for the past 8 months. I can assure you it works wonders. So the concept of a second brain was something I heard from Tiago Forte, who basically runs these courses and has gone into like a deep dive of what a second brain really looks like. So if you aren't very big on digital note-taking, I would suggest that you give this a try. I don't use this for my everyday notes or like my everyday to-do list, which you can use it for. I just use it as a storage platform for like a database. Now basically there's various methods. You can start with the most basic, which is just like typing stuff in, but if you want to go fancier, you can like have an entire spreadsheet like format, have it very aesthetic and blah blah blah. So I'm just going to run you through what my Notion setup looks like. Okay, so this is basically what my Notion looks like when I just open it. It's got most of my stuff in the second brain. Jumping into the second brain, let me explain what and how it works. This is what my board view looks like. What works for me is basically putting them into different columns so that I know what to find when I want to look for something to either write about or research. My board is divided into 4 different sections. Of course, you can do them however you wish and whatever interests you. So the first section is interesting finds. This is basically where I store everything I find on the internet that I probably don't read at that minute, or I do, and stuff that I can use for my newsletter recommendations every week. So I have things like quotes from various other newsletters. I have articles that I really like. So I just have them bookmarked inside. So there's a few. So these are the ones I find very interesting, and then I refer to them whenever I want recommendations for the newsletter. I used to use this Twitter thread, but I'll show you a new method that I recently found out, and it's probably cooler than this. Quotes is just stuff I find from like other newsletters or like books. There isn't much here yet. Questions is something that I use to ask for my podcast to the guests, or just questions that help ponder over, and stuff that I can fill into my newsletter to make it more interesting. These are just like a bunch of stuff that I pick up from podcasts that I find interesting, and then I put them inside. Now basically each of these categories has pages within them, which helps me understand whatever I want to look for. So basically this is my books page. How I use this is as a TBR plus the books I've read. So it just makes it easier for me to keep track of all the books. Some of these books have notes inside them, some don't. So if you see one of these signs, it probably has notes inside them from the books I've read. So this is my list. I have author section, but I haven't filled it clearly. Recommendations, which I recently started, so the more recent few books have this. Then the year I read these books and the type, if I've read them or not, and then I've recently started rating them. So same goes for films, podcasts, TV shows, all of those kind of things. Then I have skills. Every time I read something in these specific topics, I try to note them down under them. So for example, in advertising, I recently watched a few TEDx videos, so I took down notes from each of them, and I have them written here. Plus I have the 2 resource links below. It just makes it a lot easier for me to go back to and refer to them. This is my article section where basically I link a lot of these articles, but again I found a much easier way to do this which I will show you now. So I recently came across the Notion extension, which I don't know why I hadn't figured before. So what the Notion extension does is every time I'm scrolling through a web page that I really like, it allows me to save the entire web page into like a Note PDF format and straight into my Notion, making it a page full of my links. So let me show you what those look like. This is my links section, and basically what Notion does is it brings in the link to the note tag section here, and it allows me to then tag it and put it in one of these sections. So these are the recent few, and it'll put my notes in a systematic format. So say for example, this is a page that I liked, and what it does is it puts the information into like these notes format instead of just having like the link like I did previously. And I think this is a game changer for me to basically try and utilize all this information into my newsletters or podcasts or whatever it may be. So I have these for almost all of them. Another very cool thing that I just came across was something called Save to Notion on Twitter. So I'm going to show you what that looks like as well. So it's called Tweets, and under Tweets I have basically like, I think I only have one saved since I just figured this out. So I'm still experimenting. So yes, this is the one. So say I really like this tweet, I reply to it saying save to Notion, and then it does exactly that, where it stores the entire thread for me in Notion, and it just makes it a lot easier than just linking separate tweets to my database. So this is basically how I store all of my data. I try to keep myself organized. To schedule a lot of my work, I use Google Calendar, and I just prefer that method a lot more than putting it in Notion, because it synchronizes with my phone and my laptop and just makes everything so much easier. So if you are constantly learning things in an institution or in life, this basically helps you codify and consolidate all your information for future use whenever you want to go back and check these resources. It'll always be there. This also helps with personal organization, and I'm telling you, it maxes my productivity because I always have things to go back to, and it also makes you very conscious about the kind of media you're consuming, because you know that if it's interesting, you're going to probably put it in. That is it from my little Notion tour. If you guys enjoyed this, I would love to know the different kinds of apps, extensions, and softwares that you all use to keep yourself organized. And I'll probably come back and make more Notion videos because I'm probably addicted to this system now. See you guys soon.